and welcome to Learn with Sawgrass. We are live here on YouTube every Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. and every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we are going to teach you everything you need to know about Sawgrass printer, the Sawgrass systems, hopefully give you a little bit of inspiration and give you some business tips too. I'm Rhonda, the Education Manager here at Sawgrass. We're so glad to have you join us. Whether you join us live or whether you join us in the recordings later on, we're just glad to have you here. If you are live and you're with us, I do have Rhodes in the chat. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, put them there and we'll handle them. He'll answer some, and then I'll pester him a few times to get to help answer as well. So this week we are talking all about the printer. And actually, it's really cool. If you check out our quick tips kind of line up with that too. And so we'll have those live on Thursday. There's some good printer tips too. We're going to talk about the warranty and some other things in those this week. Today I really just wanted to talk to you about getting the most out of your printer. Tomorrow we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is printer maintenance. So printer maintenance and printer troubleshooting are two very different things. Printer troubleshooting happens once something isn't working properly. Printer maintenance is the things you can do to help make sure that your printer works no matter what. So tomorrow we're going to talk about printer maintenance, but today I just wanted to talk about some things about extending the life of your printer, getting the most out of your printer. And so we're going to go through those, just go through some of the basics today. We probably won't be a very long session, so if you really like to see me for an hour, I apologize. But I just wanted to kind of talk through some of the basics. So the place I want to start is all about where and how you set up your printer. So the first thing to remember about your printer is you don't want it right next to a window. So you don't want too much, and it's not as much the light as the heat. You don't want the heat from the sunlight getting on the printer. So you want to avoid putting it near like a large glass or right underneath the window. The other thing is the printer does need ventilation. As you probably all should know by now, I have been with the company for 7 years, and the first 2-3 years of that were on the support team. So I heard this all the time. Printers that were touching things on either side, printers that were touching things on the back. Don't do that. It's really not healthy for the printer to have anything blocking it, and that way you have a good airflow. The other thing you need to be very careful about is stacking things on top of the printer. I know people will sometimes see we'll have shots here. I try to avoid it. But where we'll stack printers, printers are a little more disposable here than they are in the regular environment. We have multiple printers because we're testing multiple things. So if you've ever seen a shot of me at my desk, you'll notice that the desk behind me has about 6 printers stacked on top of each other and very, very close together. Those printers aren't going to last a huge, long amount of time, but that's okay because those printers are just for testing. So do as we say, not as we do. Don't stack printers. Also, don't stack other things on top of the printers. 2 reasons. First of all, this actually, Rose, will you show my computer screen?
I will.
This plastic has nothing beneath it. This is the lid of the printer. There is nothing underneath this. So if I put something heavy directly on this, it's going to bend. If this bends, it's going to damage the lid. It's not going to work properly. And so you really want to avoid putting anything directly on that for that reason. It's really not going to support it. It's not going to be great. Not great for the printer. So keep things off the top. The other reason, and this is something we're going to go into tomorrow, is I want you to open this lid. I want you at any given time to be able to open this lid and look inside. If we're stacking stuff on top of it, then you're having to move it and move it back and blah, 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 not fun. So please, please, please keep the top of your printer empty. Other things that I think are extremely important to keeping your printer healthy and extending the life. One is going to be making sure that your printer is turned on and plugged in at all given times. And the reason this becomes important is, plug is not it right yet. We want it to be able to do maintenance. So as you should know, one of the biggest things about the Sawgrass printers, the SG500 and the SG1000 and the old 400s and 800s that are still out there, is that this printer does daily maintenance. So for any 10 to 12 hour period where the printer is not in use, it is going to run a fraction of a percent of 1% of ink through the lines, and that helps clear anything that may be going on. So it helps prevent clogs on its own. Now, people will tell us sometimes, oh, the printer's doing a much longer cycle than I thought it should. One of the reasons is because this printer will detect if there is a clog. Now, it doesn't always work. That's why the manual troubleshooting is so important, the manual maintenance. But it will often detect and it will clean that on its own. So sometimes those cycles are a little bit longer. But keeping it turned on and keeping it plugged in allows it to do that. Now, the other thing to remember, and this is very important, is if I turn my printer off for 3 weeks, at the end of the 3 weeks, it knows that it has to compensate for the fact that it wasn't turned on for 3 weeks. Now, does it do 3 weeks worth of cleaning? No, it does not. But it does do an extended cycle to make up for that time, and it knows how long to do it. It's a very smart printer when it comes to this. So always turned on, always plugged in. Keep the printer clear, things on top and on the sides and the back. I keep saying back, but I'm not going to show you the back as well. The other thing is with your ink. Now, the ink needs to be in date. You cannot have expired ink. Why is expired ink bad? The thing about the expired ink is the ink does start to break down. You are more likely to get clogs. You are also more likely to have color issues too with expired ink. So we really want to change that ink out on the expiration date. Where is the expiration date? Right on the front of those cartridges. But we do want to make sure that the ink is in date. Now, have I seen people online say, oh, I had expired ink in my printer for 6 months and it was just fine, you can do it. Don't listen to that, and here's why. My home's temperature and humidity is different than your home's temperature and humidity. Those things do impact. Other environmental factors will as well. So just because it works for you or someone else does not mean it'll work for you. And you're doing it at the risk of damaging your print head. Because if the ink starts to break down, if it starts to form lumps, clogs, then you are more likely to damage your print head. Do not use expired ink. On the same vein, do not use third-party ink. Why is this so important? The big thing is that the head is calibrated specifically for our ink, and our ink is created specifically for our print head. They are a matched component. I cannot tell you if someone else's ink is properly calibrated. And knowing the care that we put into this, I don't think anyone else's is. So third-party ink can definitely damage your print head. It can definitely have more potential to clog. The other thing about third-party ink is I can tell you the names of every single person who touches our inks until they are in the cartridges. I know how long they've worked here, and I know how passionate they are about our ink and about our printers. I also know our quality check process, and I know the names of those people too. And they're not going to let ink get out that is not high quality ink. Things happen occasionally, of course, but it's very, very, very rare because of the amount of attention and care we put into that. Quality checking is such a huge part of what we do. Quality is extremely important to us. I don't know that for any third-party ink company. I only know what we make, and that ink is made specifically for this printhead, and this printhead is calibrated specifically for that ink. That's going to be important. Now, you may ask me, what do you mean by calibrated? If you want a great technical explanation of this, listen to our Ink Differently podcast, the very first one we did with Alex Tokarev. He explains it very well. I will try. Okay. So basically, how freely a liquid flows is called viscosity. So water has a very low viscosity, and honey has a very high viscosity. What does that mean? Water flows very easily. Honey, not so easily. Same thing with tree sap, not going to flow very easily. Our inks are somewhere in between those two as far as viscosity goes. Because of that, our printhead is calibrated. The nozzles are created to handle that specific viscosity. Even a slight change in viscosity is enough to impact how well it flows through the head. So, not knowing the viscosity, I can't promise you anything. So don't use third-party inks. Okay, I'll get off that soapbox. But that's the main basic things I'm going to tell you. I'm also going to tell you to tune in tomorrow or watch that later, because I feel that if you properly maintain your printer and you check a few core pieces once or twice per month, you're going to get a lot of life out of your printer. And that's going to be things like your capping station, that's going to be your belt, that's going to be your exit guide. Those are all things I'm going to show you how to clean and care for them tomorrow. So there you go. Make sure and tune in tomorrow so you can see those parts. But those are my kind of high list of things to really help you keep your printer working well. The other thing I'm going to tell you that's very important is oh, there it went. Flew right out the head. Oh well, we'll think of it later. All right. So I do want to show you a couple of things in the software that I think are very important as well. No, so good.
Will you plug the cord back in? I think it fell out a little bit, the power cord. Yeah, I think.
Is it bothering you?
No, the printer I think turned off completely though.
Huh. Yeah.
I think it's just the angle of the cord. Yeah, the blue light's not on. It's good.
You
hit the power.
Where's the power?
To the left. Left. Your left.
Uh-huh.
Then hit that button.
Is it back on?
It's going, yeah.
Hold on. I really wish I could remember what I was going to say because it was very important. Oh well. Okay. One of the other things that I would say is using high quality paper. This kind of goes without question. You will never hear me tell you to use something other than sublimation transfer paper in the printer. The only time I would tell you to use copy paper, or I'm old enough to say typing paper, is if you are doing a nozzle check. I got it, I remembered. But use good quality paper. There are papers out there that produce more dust. I would tell you that if you were seeing that your feed belt is getting extremely dusty very quickly, because again, we're going to practice opening the lid. If you're seeing a lot of dust, you may want to try a different paper because that can be problematic. The other thing that I want to say is this printer is very deceptive. It is a desktop printer. I know how I treat my desktop printer at home, my little inkjet printer, and I know the lack of care I put into that machine. I also know that it's cheaper to replace the printer than it is to buy new ink for that printer, so I don't really care that much if I don't really maintain it. This printer is a lot more expensive. The ink is a lot more expensive. You really need to put some care into this printer. The other thing to remember is that though it appears to be a desktop printer, and it is a desktop printer, it's on your desk, this is a production printer. Please believe me when I tell you, I sat down with someone last week who does high volume printing with these printers and are getting over 100,000 prints out of a printer. And that's in a very short amount of time. So this is a production unit. It wants you to use it. So you should be printing every week, honestly. I know that's kind of scary. If you're using Sublimation ink, print it and use it later if you need to. If you're just doing a nozzle check, that's fine. But I know printers turn off. Things happen. If you're not at least going and looking at it, doing a nozzle check occasionally, you're going to be more likely to get clogs. So the best way to maintain that printer and keep it healthy is to make sure that you do have ink running through the printer. So do a print per week. Make your kid a t-shirt or a keychain or something. Keychains are really popular right now. They would love getting a new keychain each week. Trust me. Whether it's your kids or your grandkids or your neighbor's kids. Even something that small just keeps it running. Make sure you're looking at it too. So all very, very good things. Rhodes, before I go into the software, do you have any questions?
No questions just so far. We have hello from Tom and Lori.
Ah, nice. Let's get into the printing utility. So I kind of figured while we're talking about ways to expand the life of your printer, let's go ahead and just do a quick refresher on a couple of things in the print utility. Not a great image, guys. I'm sorry. It's just going to work for this though. All right. Oh, if you don't know, if you are going to Printing United this year in Orlando, Florida, that is in 2 weeks, I will be there. I am going to be doing demos every single day. So no workshops in 2 weeks, but that's because I'm basically doing 3 workshops per day live while we are down there. So please join us. If you're going to be at Printing United, swing by our booth. It will be on our website to show you which booth. I don't know yet, sorry. But we will be making, I don't know that we're making the pot holders anymore, but we're going to be doing some really great demos down there. So if you're in the area, if you're planning to be at Printing United, stop by and see us. Stop by and see me. Like I said, I'm doing 3 demos per day. So I'll be busy. All right, so the first thing that I think helps your printer is making sure that your settings are correct. Let me switch my printers. All right, so that means, and this is probably one of the big ones, is setting your product correctly. There are a lot of people who for some reason try to make sure that they know which product lays down the least amount of ink and which product lays down the most amount of ink. Some people are over printing. They're using the wrong product type to get more ink on the paper, and some people are under printing. They're using something that has less ink than they need to keep less ink from being left behind. That is perfectly normal for there to be ink left on the page. That is a part of sublimation, and it's because the ink becomes a gas and only so much can fit into those pores. So one of the things that to me is very important is making sure that you're checking your settings, that you're changing your product type, and you're changing your paper type to get you as close as possible to what you're actually doing. All right, so the other thing that I think is important is making the most of your piece of paper by ganging and nesting. So nesting is, I always think of it as like birds of a feather. So if you're doing multiples of the same image on your page, that's nesting. So I can put, let's say I can put 6 on here. And then I can increase the spacing between them. So that I have room. Let's say these were little cute, adorable pop holder keychains. I could put spacing between them, because you know me, I like to actually put the keychains on top, and I could do that and get that to work. Now the other thing that you can do is what we call ganging. With ganging, putting multiples of different products on here. Again, you normally aren't resizing, but this is just an easy sample for me. And the beauty of this is there's things that you can create, you can control universally, and things that you can control individually. So I can actually go in and do my spacing universally, but I can go in individually and tell it the number of numbers. So if I needed to do 3 of this one, but I needed to do 5 of this one, I can do that and get them all on one page. There we go. And I can get those, and this is tabloid, of course, that's why I can do so many. Alright, there you go. Alright, that's pretty much all I have for you. I knew this one was going to be a little bit shorter, but that doesn't make it unimportant. It also makes it easier to share. But I really wanted to kind of run through some stuff with the printer, because you can get a lot out of this printer. Probably, if I were to say my top 3 list of mistakes people make, turning the printer off, basically only using it seasonally. So using it for the next month or so for the holidays, and then kind of not looking at it again until we hit May and gifting season. So that's probably the number 1 mistake people make. Number 2, using expired or third-party ink. Definitely ways that you are going to damage your printer. And I know you don't want to spend the money on ink sometimes, or that it's difficult to spend the money on ink. But even if you are a crafter who occasionally sells, you can afford it. So just make sure you're doing enough sales, even if it's just to friends and family, to make sure that you can cover that ink cost. But that's going to be number 2. And then number 3 is just not being aware of where the printer is. Making sure that there's nothing touching it, making sure there's no direct light on it. All those things are going to help expand the life of the printer. So that's it. That's what I got today. Tomorrow, we will be looking at some basic printer maintenance. I'm going to do a capping station clean with you. We are going to check our feed belt. We're going to do some fun stuff tomorrow. I don't get my hands dirty, my hands in the printer very often, so I'm excited. So we'll do all of that tomorrow, look at a nozzle check, all the fun things. And then we do have a podcast dropping this week. I know I said last week didn't happen. That is going to be with Judith from Luna Lee, and it's going to be all about preparing for the holiday selling season. Really, my gosh, I cannot wait to get this out to you. It's got some really great info in it. So that is it for me today. Glad to talk to you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, and I hope there's no other questions, are there?
No.
Or comments? All right, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.